Hello, this is Digital Accessibility, the people behind the progress. I'm Joe Walensky, the creator and host of this series. And as an accessibility professional myself, I find it very interesting as to how others have found their way into this profession. So let's meet one of those people right now and hear about their journey. All right. Well, I'm Joe Walensky, and we're going to get into another episode where I have the opportunity to talk with an accessibility practitioner. And today I am speaking with Rajesh Kalidindi. Hello, Rajesh. How are you today?
Fantastic, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. Everything's going well. I'm at my usual place remotely, which is my home office on Vashon Island in Washington, which is very near Blink's Seattle headquarters. Where are you talking to us from?
Same home office in the Seattle area, enjoying the work from home benefit.
Well, it's great to have you part of this podcast. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about you. We have met before and known each other for a while, but for those of you that may not be familiar with you and your work, why don't you start by talking about what you're doing right now?
Sure. Thanks for having me in this podcast, and you're doing fantastic job of bringing multiple accessibility professionals together in this series. So right now I am providing accessibility consulting services for clients. That includes training on how to integrate accessibility guidelines into their design development processes, and also doing validations and VPATs and mentoring those who are coming into the field, and also doing executive coaching and giving presentations like this in conferences as well.
Yeah, well, I know you're very involved with with participating in conferences, and you've done that for a long time. Just what's it been like, most recently with the pandemic? Obviously, most things went to remote virtual events, and now we're starting to have some physical events. What's it been like for you in terms of giving talks at various conferences?
I think, pandemic taught us a lot in terms of presenting and as well as hosting these kind of conferences. So the benefit is that now we are connected globally, truly connected with globally, because I don't need to travel anywhere to give a presentation or to attend. But after 2 years, not seeing physically people, the connection, the human connection is missing. That is where I'm looking for the in-person conferences as well, where you can really meet people and understand what they are, who they are, and how they are bringing change into the world at a personal level connection. So I think quick conversations, this is remote conferences are good, but if you want to make any deep connections, I think, still we are there in the in-person meetings and the conferences.
Well, one of the things that I like to get into in this program is find out how people found their way to the things that they're found their way into accessibility as a profession. Sometimes it's lived life or work life or a combination. How did it start for you?
It's a long story. I try to make it as short as possible. I started my career as a multimedia designer and then transitioned into the web design and the user experience design. But almost like 14, 15 years back when I joined Microsoft, this is where my soul searching has happened with the support and motivation from my managers at Microsoft. I found that I have passion making experience for aged population and as well as the people with disabilities. That is where I got the support to learn how to do it by learning the standards and as well as observing the people with disabilities, how they use the experiences. So I have tried a couple of years while doing the UX design and research. Mainly the usability studies helped me a lot to learn what it takes to make the digital world inclusive for everyone. Mainly, the Communication Video Accessibility Act, the CVAA, gave me a jump start to transition my career from UX discipline into the accessibility discipline. So since then, I have been learning and many skills in terms of developing these inclusive solutions. More than the technical knowledge, I think the soft skills helped me a lot to grow into accessibility profession. There is a lot of convincing needs to be done in terms of prioritizing accessibility standards into the work, the negotiation skills, and the leadership skills, and many other soft skills helped me a lot, to become accessibility profession. So I spent many years after that CVAA at Microsoft, and then I took that experience into a non-technology company and led an initiative at Liberty Mutual Insurance for a couple of years. And now I am helping clients and the other people who is coming into the profession as an independent consultant.
You mentioned your work at Microsoft and then with Liberty, and you mentioned research and usability testing. I think a lot of people that may be new to accessibility often just are hearing about compliance and audits and remediation. Maybe not as much about the value of what we can find in research and usability testing. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your experiences with, what that consisted of. Not necessarily specific to those organizations, but maybe if you have just some general thoughts about the value and the types of things that went on for those activities.
Absolutely. I think the standards or the guidelines show the path, how you can make your experiences inclusive. But unless we observe how this is being used, so you learn a little bit of, from the guidelines, and then you start implementing to make it inclusive. But unless this is put onto the test, or unless you see the person actually using it, you don't know whether all the guidelines that you put into work is really meaningful to the user or not. So I have learned a ton by observing people actually using the solution, and found many creative ideas how we can tweak it to make it more usable. So I think the guidelines is a good starting point where you can start thinking about accessibility, but actually testing it with users or observing how they use it, it will not make it a completely, a solution.
Going to from the research and usability testing area, one of the things I notice that you list for your services for clients is coaching organizations and individuals to have mature accessibility programs. Can you talk a little bit about what that consists of?
It depends on where the organization is in, you know. So sometimes we may start with validating what the existing solutions are and finding the gaps, and then fix those the initially what we found, and then build upon how you can enhance these experiences by integrating accessibility into the left. So, in the industry, there is a term called shift left, right? So, as part of this shift left, slowly transitioning the organization into integrating into the design process and then developing process, and as well as helping the management how to measure this work, the amount of work is being done, and how they can measure in terms of making it more inclusive, not just being compliant with the guidelines and the regulations, but also how they can transition from compliant to the usable solutions. So the journey varies from different angles. Sometimes the journey starts with a customer might have logged a compliant, and handling that compliant, and from there you transition into a truly inclusive world. Or sometimes the UX people have a lot of empathy for people with disabilities, and the champions come forward to work on the accessibility. That is my journey, where I was the champion for accessibility, and then matured and transitioned into the fully into the accessibility world. So these are different flavors wherever you start with, and you need to make sure that you have pieces like your resources, the people who are working, having the enough skills and having enough tools, and also the most importantly, the empathy for the end users, how you can build that empathy into the people who you are working with. So these are the main buckets I would call to make it to help our organizations.
Well, you've been involved in accessibility for quite a while now. As you look back on where you started and where we are today, are there certain areas where you're kind of amazed that we've gotten to where we are, or on the other side of it, are there some areas where you're concerned that maybe we haven't invested enough, or we still have a lot of work to do? Any thoughts about kind of how where you'd like to see things go in the future?
Fantastic question. Since this accessibility has been there in the United States from almost 30 years, but my involvement only in the last decade or so, as a full-time profession. But in the last decade, I have seen, when I started, people were not paying attention to the accessibility much. And since then, I have seen a lot of interest, and also a push or a motivation to make the solution, the digital solutions, inclusive across multiple industries. So in my observation, multiple things might have contributed to this. I think many lawsuits, exponentially increased in the last 10 years that might have paid attention to the accessibility, and also a strong leaders in the industry, being in the big corporate companies like Microsoft, Google, IBM, and then Salesforce. A lot of other companies also started paying attention. Adobe, and there are so many other companies. The technology companies have taken the stand in making the accessibility more priority. I cannot say that it was not priority before. It was, but I think the focus is increased on accessibility. That might have contributed the focus, and the rest of the technology world is also paying attention. So, and also the advocacy groups being very vocal, and the actually people with disabilities also started becoming vocal in terms of their experiences, talking openly about their disabilities on the multiple social platforms. So from all these angles, I think helped a lot, a big jump in terms of attention on accessibility. Well, this is a good progress, but there is a lot to be done. In terms of not just the disabilities that notable, there is a lot of work to be done in terms of the invisible disabilities as well. And the aged population is also, there is a lot of work to be done. So there is a lot of invention is happening right now, using the artificial intelligence to enable the various needs. So there is a lot of complexity also I see when a person with having multiple needs. There are multiple solutions need to be relied on. So how these things can become an intuitive for the end user. My mantra is to make the simple experiences, but it takes a lot of effort to make experience very simple, right? So I think there is a lot of work to be done in terms of making it easy for real users, and how it can become intuitive. And there is a lot of innovation also needs to be done in terms of enabling many other personas that we have not touched upon.
Well, are there? You've always been involved in the community and in doing a lot of different activities. We can definitely have information in the show notes where people can find out more about you. But are there any things coming up that you want to talk about new activities or talks that you might be giving at conferences?
Yeah, I'm looking forward for the season in San Diego 2023. And I'm also looking forward for the User Experience Professionals Association, the annual international conference in Austin. Those are my to-go places, almost like every year. But in addition to that, there is an inclusive design conferences coming up. I'm looking forward for the content. Many professionals who are going to present. Those are the three things comes to my mind in terms of what I can look for in the rest of the 2023.
All right, great. Well, we'll make sure we have links in the show notes so people can find you. But Rajesh, it's been great to have this opportunity to chat with you, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you at one of those physical events in the future.
Yep. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Joe. And I'm looking forward to see you and many other professionals, either virtually or in person.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.